Now let's take a look at this. Before I start willy-nilly starting to undo the screws, wires, and the screws and stuff, I want to first see how this is installed, because some are installed differently than others. And this one, I see that the black wires are looped around the screws. Those two black wires on those, and the white wires over here are looped around on the screws. And there's a ground wire looped around on a screw too, see? Now, there's 3 ways somebody might have installed this and mounted that. They wrap it around the screws in the same direction where you're going to tighten the screws, or maybe they don't have a loop on the wire, and it's just runs straight from here over, and then you tighten the screw down on that. I've seen some guys do that. Others use these holes in the back. And see, not the rectangular hole, slot, but the round hole. And here's something to remember. Most of these electrical outlets on your walls like this in your bedrooms and stuff like that are 15 amp. And you would look on here and you would see a 15A. I don't know if you can see that or not right there. And there's also another place up here. It says 15A. Okay, and I looked and I saw that was a 15 amp too. And the funny thing on all of these, they were run with 20 amp circuits. 20 amp circuit breakers instead of 15 amp circuit breakers. Lots of times in your electrical outlet, your junction sub panel, you might see 15 amp breakers, 20 amp breakers. Find out which breaker this is on. If it's on a 15 amp breaker, that means you got 14 gauge wire onto here, and the 14 gauge wire can hook in on the back side. You can just poke it in. Okay, strip the wire back about 5/8 of an inch, a little bit more than that, poke it in the back. And on here, if these were poked in the back, I'd be able to take them out. I wouldn't cut the wires and restrip it and all that. I would just flip this sideways and take a little slotted screwdriver, you know, one really small like this one, and then I would put that in there and take it off, see? And you see here, I would take my screwdriver and push it right in there, and there's a little spring goodie there. As you're pushing in, you got to pull the wire out. It's kind of tricky to do, but you get used to it after a while. And then I could just use zip, boop, 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 and then I could take the other one, boop, 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 put it all back in. See? And I've got to look at that, and I'm just going to do the wires like for like, exactly how it is. And I always know that the black wires should always be on this side, which they are. If you notice, this side, the slots are shorter than this side. The shorter slot side is for the black hot wires, the black wires, or the, you know, and so you would flip this around and you would use this hole and that hole, okay? Not those two holes, because those two holes are for your white over here. The gold screws are for black wires. This is for black wires. Little slot for black wires. This is the white wire, the neutral side. Silver screws are for the white wires. You put the white wires in the back. If this was 15 gauge wire, this is 20 gauge wire, or 14 gauge wire. For 14 gauge wire for 15 amp breakers. But these are all in 20 amp breakers. So that's why they ran this. That's why they ran these wires on the side screws, because this is 12 gauge wire, and the 12 gauge wire nowadays will not fit in this little hole, because this is a 15 amp plug, duplex. And years ago they used to have these holes bigger. You could put 12 gauge wire, 14 gauge wire in there. It didn't make any difference. Then years later they thought, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. We only want, if you're going to use those holes, it's going to be for 14 gauge wire. But here they ran 12 gauge wire, okay? So the 12 gauge wire has to go on the screw, okay? And that's why they've got it on the side screws, okay? And so I'm going to do like for like. I don't really care how they wired this up. I don't care about anything, because however the wires are, like this one here, I know if I look in there, I can see there's two sets of wires. There's two copper wires back in the box. There's two white wires, two black wires. Then they connected the two copper wires together, shoved that back in the box. You only got one copper wire coming, and it's attached to this electrical outlet on the green screw there, okay? And then the white wires, they got one on each screw, and the black wires, they got one on each screw. It doesn't matter on this particular one which black wire goes for what. But when we take this off, if you don't know any better, we'll do the top. We'll do the top to the top. The top black wire, we'll leave it on the top, okay? And vice versa. You know, there's reasons to maybe do it slightly different, but not for this particular electrical outlet, okay? Now, I'm gonna just start right now, and I'm right-handed, okay? And so I'm gonna do everything on the left first. I'm not gonna use my left hand or anything like that. I'm just gonna flip this over sideways like that, so that I can get to this with I can hold everything with my left hand, and I can still use my right hand over here. Okay, does that make sense? So I'm gonna start undoing these wires over here, and I'm gonna get this ground. Lots of times these screws could be tight, and you just have to hold your mouth just right and get that unscrewed. Okay, be careful with that. You want to get your screwdriver off and shove it right into your palm of your hand. I've done that before. It's not very nice. Years ago when I was first starting. Okay, now I'm just going to undo all these screws, the green screw and the two silver screws. Oh man, they got these on good. And the reason, you know, that it's over 15 years old. Now there's a back, as you're backing the screw out, you can tell where to stop. But I might end up undoing these screws all the way. We're just going to see. Okay? If you do them hard enough, those screws will come out. And I don't care about the black screws right now. I don't care about that, okay? I'm looking at this side only, and sometimes I can just get these wires right off of there, and I don't have to undo the screw, okay? And you know, if I took my little screwdriver, I could take it like that and prop that off, pop it off, or whatever. Okay, sometimes they might have this crimped over and kind of tightened, so you can't even take this off by hand like that. And if you don't want to mess with taking the wire, trying to pull it off, taking your wire strippers and trying to change everything, you could just take these screws right off. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do here. I've done this on a couple other ones where I thought I'm just going to undo the screws. Okay, you can do that. Ugh, I almost thought I got shocked, but it was just because I was pushing so hard. Come on. Boy. Okay, you're in luck. That one's not wanting to come. Well, maybe I can get a different screwdriver. These screws have an area for Phillips or slotted. I'm going to take my slotted screwdriver. Maybe I can kind of bear down on it and get that screw off of there. Here. Boy. See, the screw will come out. It's just harder to do that. Okay? Or you can pull it off the other way. Okay? See how those are, I've already got those off. I'm not going to worry about anything else just yet, other than I want to get this copper line off, and this screw's kind of hard to come off too. Okay, it's not gonna come. I can take my little screwdriver, and I could have done this with the others too, and wedge it in there. Okay. Or see if it's crimped on the back, and if it is just slightly, I can slightly separate it with the bigger screwdriver. Let's see if I can get it. See, it's not very deep. You can twist it and separate it a little bit. Take your small screwdriver and you can pull that off of there. See how it's got a loop? I can make that loop a little bit smaller or bigger by just doing that, okay? All right. That's all I'm gonna do for right now, okay? Don't even worry about that. Okay? Top, bottom, ground. So what am I gonna do here? I can do two ways. I took this one off because I pulled that off. So now I can put that one back on. I could take these two screws off all the way and then hold them up there, line it up. It's kind of tricky to do, but it's easy. You know, you do it once or twice. At this point, if you want, you can take this and just pull out and make this just a little bit bigger so I can get it on the side. Okay? And because I'm going to leave these screws on this time. We'll take the other side screws off, okay? This is this side. I'm just undoing these screws, backing them off a little bit. Okay, until it feels tight to give myself a little bit of extra room. I want to put it on like for like, okay? And so I'm going to start down here, and I might have to bend that just a little to get it on. And you want it going the same direction as you're going to tighten everything up. Okay, now I can kind of crimp that together a little bit and tighten that screw up. Okay. You want your copper wire going the same direction over your screw as the screw is tightening. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I'm going to see these white wires are, because they've already been installed, I'm going to have to kind of bend them a little bit just to get it over here because I didn't take these side screws off. And you can do it. You just have to kind of look at it and see. I would actually do this slightly a little bit different. I would actually put this down this way and tilt this and get it on. See, I'm even struggling with this a little bit because of how it was on there from before and how all the wires are. But see, once I get it on there, then I can take this and pinch that together just a little before I tighten up this side. Okay. Yeah, you can see me. Hello there. If you don't want to do that, you just take these screws out and take the screw out and just hold it up there. You see? Then everything's all bent and everything's all lined up for your next bit. But see, because I'm doing it this way, I've got to reposition things. I'm not going to do that on the black wires, okay? Like I said, I'll show you a different way to do the blacks. I think you can see that. Okay. Make sure those screws are tight. Make sure your ground screws tight. Lots of times when you twist it back up, you know, like that, sometimes that ground screw gets loose, I've noticed, every once in a while. Okay, so now, that's what you're going to have so far. Okay, now like I said, we're going to do this side slightly different this time, okay? I'm going to push this out of the way, and we're going to go for this. I'm just going to undo this side all the way, and we're going to do that next. Okay, I've got the breaker back on. You always want to check your breaker. Make sure the power is on before you call your project good. You don't want to walk away from this and make the assumption. And plus, when you turn your breaker back on, if your breaker trips, then you know maybe you did something wrong in your electrical junction box. Maybe one of your wires got loose if you're poking them into the back or something like that. See there? It's on. I know it's working. And I'm going to call that good. And speaking of breakers, if your breaker trips, then you're going to have to pull this apart and figure it out, try it again, and then when you get ready to turn your breaker back on, did you know on a tripped breaker you have to turn your breaker off, then turn it back on all the way. And if you try to turn it back on all the way, and if it trips again, that tells you you're still something's going on with your work. Okay, finally, once you get done, you turn your breaker on and the breaker does not trip, you know you probably got it, but then still walk back here, put your tester back in there and check it out before you call it good. Then do some cleanup. You're not done until everything gets put back away. Well, that's all I got for this time, but I'll be back with more videos. And hey, I know you're just a beginner, and if you want to watch more of my electrical videos or any videos I have, I got all kinds of stuff to save you money around the house on how-to projects and repairs. Just go to my main YouTube channel page, then click on playlists. Look for playlists and click on there. And there's over 50 different topics I have on my channel. Go scroll down to electrical and any other electrical things. You can peruse my videos, see what types of things I have. In case you're looking like, oh yeah, I want to replace a regular light switch and put a dimmer light switch in there, or a lit dimmer switch, or a three-way dimmer switch instead of regular dimmer switch, or a light fixture, whatever it is. Look on those, and I might just have what you're looking for. And if I can do it, you can do it. Save your money. Check out my videos and start saving money around the house. See you next time.